Let's pay a visit to Mark's True Crime Corner.
This is not a good neighborhood. I'm scared.
Now, here's your host, Mark Thompson.
She is stalwart. She's always over-prepared. She literally was up all night.
That's true.
Prepping this. She preps more than anyone else who is a contributor on the show.
And you would think that would be represented better in my presentation.
No, you're great. Here's Courtney, everybody. Yeah.
But I did. I listened and watched a lot of content around this story,
What is the story about?
Well, the story is about Karen Reed. And I wonder if anybody who's watching or listening knows about this case, because it's happening right now, Mark. The trial started on April 16th. So there's a lot of media buzz, but especially on the East Coast, because this happened in Boston, in the suburbs of Boston in Massachusetts.
Ah.
And the story is about a murder, but it's a whodunit, because there's two parties right now arguing about who killed this man, John O'Keefe, which if you're watching, you can see on the left-hand side of the screen. And that's his girlfriend, Karen Reed, who's accused of murdering him on January 29th, 2022. Now, the accusations are that she hit him, ran over him with her car, and killed him. But there's also the accusations that he was murdered at a house party that was held by other Boston Police Department members, because he was a Boston police he was part of the Boston Police Department.
Wow.
And there's an ATF agent, there's federal agents, there's cover-up. The
Wow.
FBI has been brought in to oversee parts of this case because there's conspiracy allegations around the handling of this case and the accusations around Karen Reed murdering this man.
Do tell me. Tell me what
will.
happened. All right. I'm excited.
So if you go to the next...
I'm interested.
If you go to the next visual. So this is Karen Reed and John O'Keefe. They were dating in their 20s. And she ends up moving away and coming back. So they rekindle their romance over social in their 40s, which is in the last couple of years. He is a Boston Police Department member. And she is a financial analyst, but she's also a financial professor. So she's teaching in college. And they rekindle their romance. He has custody by the time they rekindle their romance of his niece and nephew. So he's effectively now a parent. And so they enter into this relationship that's very much like a family. And she spends a lot of time with him. But as you might think in these situations, the relationship is tumultuous.
Yeah.
So there is some fighting going on. It is in front of the kids. And it's alleged that on the night or in and around January 28th, which is when this happened, they were fighting. And she was sending him text messages and leaving him voicemails about how much she hated him and how toxic their relationship was.
Yeah. Oh, so she all of a sudden rises on the suspect list.
Yes. So if you go to the next visual, this is him. This is a comment about him from his family. He was a wonderful police officer, very much loved, beloved. And his death, again, is really interesting because it's alleged that one of the possibilities is that he was killed by other Boston police officers at the home of a Boston police officer.
Why would they want to do that?
Well, the thought is that he didn't get along with the nephew of the person that owned the house, Brian Albert, and Colin Albert is the nephew. And some fight happened, and then they beat him up. And they also had a dog named Chloe that was a German Shepherd. And it is alleged that the German Shepherd also attacked John O'Keefe. And then he stumbled into the front lawn of the home and died there, was found there. Yeah.
I don't know anything, but that sounds like a really far-fetched story. But anyway, continue, please.
Yeah.
So that's him as a cop.
That's him as a cop.
John was not only a dedicated police officer, he was an exemplary guardian, son, brother, uncle, and friend is what it says here. And we are fortunate to have him as a part of our lives, to have had him as part of our lives. So that's really sweet guy. His sibling passed, so he
was the caretaker and guardian for, as I mentioned, his niece and nephew. They were 14 and 10 at the time of this murder. If we go to the next visual. So this is everyone.
So these
this
are all
very complex.
If you're just listening, it's like one of those.
It's one of these family tree lineage.
Yeah. That's extensive.
There's a lot of people, and that's part of the issue. Is that this is a small town, Canton, Massachusetts, and everybody grew up together. Friends are marrying other friends, brothers and sisters. And so when you look at these family trees, there's complexity as it relates to the community in and of Canton, Massachusetts. And the cover up coming from, the everybody's family and brother and sister, like they all have an interest in making sure that the homeowners who are at the top, kind of toward the right, if you can see, Brian Albert and Nicole Albert. Now, the main players in this story are Brian Albert and Nicole Albert. They own the home where John O'Keefe has passed. I'm just going to start with them because I was just talking about them. Jen McCabe and Matt McCabe. Jen is the sister of Nicole Albert. She is also incriminated for doing a Google search at 2:30 in the morning, how long to die in the cold, which is very suspicious.
Oh, my God.
And then you have you obviously have, if you go toward the bottom left.
So Jen McCabe is Jen McCabe is in the upper right.
She's in the upper right. If you go clockwise, you see Karen Reed and John O'Keefe. She is the girlfriend. He is the murdered police officer.
He's in the lower left. Karen Reed and John O'Keefe are lower left.
Yes, and then if you go
corner.
Just up toward the middle, you see Colin Albert. He is the nephew of Brian Albert. It is alleged that he and John O'Keefe did not have a good relationship.
Colin Albert is in the center of the screen. Okay.
And he is next to Chloe, who is the German Shepherd.
Okay.
So you've got, again, there's two suggested incidences, which is the first, Karen Reed backs over her boyfriend at 25 miles an hour and kills him with her Lexus SUV. The other story, or the other alleged incident, is that John walks into the house of Brian Albert. He is beaten up by Brian and Colin, and then he is attacked by Chloe, and he is left for dead in the front of the home.
Brian is there, the top center. So were his injuries consistent with being run over?
I mean, these injuries are really significant. He had 2 black eyes. He had blood and vomit coming from his mouth and all over his clothes. He was saturated. He had scratches up and down his arm. He had scratches, and he had trauma on the back of his head. And I'll show you in a second the damage to the car. Which I don't know. I've never hit anyone with my car, so I can't say. But it just seems like it's very strange. I don't really know.
It's not about you saying. I'm wondering what was said about his injuries. Were they consistent with I guess what I'm trying to say is, which one of these narratives did prosecutors spark to? Or are they sparking
Well,
to?
a grand jury indicted her, so the grand jury thought that she could be guilty of
that narrative that you described, which is running him over and then, okay.
But there is thoughts on some of the experts that the injuries exceed what would have happened with the car. So,
I see. So something else happened besides just being run over by the car. Okay, go ahead, please. Sorry.
So if we go down, I'll take you just through quickly the night. So they go to a bar. Karen and John go to a bar. The bar is called the Waterfall Grill. They meet, if you go to the next slide, they meet a bunch of people who are there. These are all the people that were at the Waterfall Grill. And they start drinking. So in the next slide, it shows a quick visualization of all the drinks that Karen had. This is all caught on surveillance video.
Wow.
Yeah, they didn't take her blood until the morning of when they found John's body, which is January 29th. All of this is happening on January 28th. But kind of recalculating her blood alcohol level for the night before, she was at a 0.13 or a 0.23.
She's had
really
7
high.
cocktails. They actually posted here for those just listening.
Yeah.
They posed, and again, based on surveillance video, exactly when she had these cocktails. So one at 8:58, 9:15, 9:20, 9:33, 9:57, 10:22, 10:29. So it's a remarkable amount of alcohol consumed in a very short time.
Very short time. She's already angry with him because he's been trying to break up with her and they've been fighting.
And she's with her friend, John O'Keefe, who is Boston PD.
That's her boyfriend.
Her
Yeah.
boyfriend, sorry, okay.
Now they
John is the guy who she killed.
Yeah, John is the guy
she's alleged to have killed.
She's alleged to have killed.
So I'm sorry, so they're together drinking, or?
Yeah, he's drinking too. They're
Okay.
all drinking.
Okay.
They're all drinking. They're hanging out. But what's really important, obviously, for this case is how many drinks Karen had before she got behind the wheel of the car and allegedly ran over John O'Keefe. And you'll see everybody that's there. Jen becomes a main player in this because John is texting Jen as he gets to the house. And as
Jen McCabe, who I'm seeing here.
Yes,
Okay.
and
yeah.
as he's alleged to have gone into the house.
So again, Jen
is married to Matthew McCabe, but she's the sister of the homeowner. That's
Okay.
why it's important. She is the
Okay.
sister of the homeowner.
and all right, very good. Go
So
ahead.
if we go to the next visual, this is the timeline between 7 and 10. Again, here are the drinks that are given. Again, this is all from surveillance video from the Waterfall Grill. If we go to the next visual, it should talk about the timeline. Yep. So everyone's leaving. The Brian Albert and Nicole Albert invite everybody back to their home. So everyone starts to go to their home. Now, Karen says she didn't really know these people. She wasn't sure they were really invited. So she drives John to the home and drops him off and waits for 10 minutes. But her story changed because the first time she was retelling this story, she said she dropped him off and drove away immediately. So there's something going on there. We're in a difference of a 10-minute wait versus a dropping off and leaving immediately. But they did, in fact, somehow know these people. And I'm bringing this up because a lot of the people that were at the Waterfall Grill and at the home said they barely knew John O'Keefe and Karen Reed. So again, there's some confusion in the nature of these relationships. So if you go to the next visual, this is the home. So this is the after party. This is the house party. 34 Fairview Road in Canton, Massachusetts. This house was in the Albert family for a very long time. They sold this house immediately after the murder happened. Now, some people are calling that suspicious, but I would imagine if there was a murder at your home, yeah, you would want to get rid of that
Although
house.
you have to disclose that there was, I think.
Yeah.
But so it was supposedly in that driveway that she ran over John?
That's what I can't figure out. He was allegedly found in the lawn, on the lawn, closer to the left-hand side of the home if you're looking at the home. But the driveway's on the right-hand side. I don't understand where she would have hit him. Now, there's a map that shows how she would have backed over him in the road just in the front of the house. So maybe he walked toward
But in
the
either
lawn
case,
and
she would
died.
have had to have dragged, or somebody would have had to have helped drag his body there over the lawn.
Yeah, I mean, he walked out certainly from the home. What's interesting, if you go to the next slide, is he has an Apple Health monitor. So that's telling us how many steps. So these are the people at the home, same sort of people from the bar. If we go to the next visual. So he gets to the house between 12:21 and 12:24. So he takes 80 steps in the first 3 minutes of arriving. Now, it is also said that after the 80 steps, he climbs 3 flights of stairs. But what's interesting is there's a time when there's no recorded information, nothing is happening. He ends with 36 steps, and then there's no longer any data from his Apple Watch. This is also where 2 people who are leaving the party see the suspect or Karen Reed's car, and there's no damage to the taillight, which becomes important later in the accusations that she drove, that she murdered her boyfriend with the car, backing over him with the car. So if we go to the next visual, this will show how far away the street is from the house. This talks about the steps, the time gaps.
Well, it
and then
says
the
that
last
from the
36
street to the
steps.
house is about 61 feet. And as you say, it's estimated, again here, John took an estimated 80 steps in the first 3 minutes when he arrived at the house.
Yes, exactly. And he climbed 3 flights of stairs, it's alleged, from the data from his Apple Watch, from the
Right.
Apple Health. Yes. There's a 7-minute gap where no steps are recorded. But I don't know if the watch records like elevated heart rate or other things that might have happened. But it doesn't seem like that. The last part of this is 36 steps that happen. And then again, no data is found after that. So if we go to the next visual, that's the first 3 minutes of him arriving. These are text messages that are going back and forth between Jen McCabe and John O'Keefe, who died. And you can see on the top left-hand corner of this visual, that's Jen and that's John. Now, why this is important is because, again, Jen McCabe is the one who Googled at 2:30, 2:27 in the morning, how long does it take to die in the cold?
I mean, that's just unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, that alone should produce a conviction.
So you can see the blue and the pink. This is him walking. This is her walking. These are the calls. And
What
the
is the
text
explanation
messages.
she has for having Googled that?
Well, it is said that she opened a window on her phone, Safari, at 2:27. And then it is confirmed that at 6:30 in the morning when they find John's body, Karen yells at Jen, look up how long it takes to die in the cold. Look up how long it takes to die in the cold. So she does Google that again at 6:28 and like 6:32. But it's alleged that because she had opened the window at 2:27 and used the same window, that's in fact why it's coming up at 2:27. But that seems very
It's still not,
far-fetched.
I don't know,
Yeah,
that's
it
not
doesn't-
exculpatory. I don't understand. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
So if we go to the next visual, this is where the body is found. These are some images. That's not the body. That is just where the body is found. If we go to the next visual, again, this is outside of the house. This is the police. That's the street. And then this is where the body is found. There are shards of plastic that are found in and around the body. And they believe that that is from Karen's car. What is alleged is that some of the police force took the plastic from the lights and parts of the car and placed it around the body, incriminating Karen for the murder of John by placing that evidence there.
Wow, that is really wild.
And I couldn't figure out why there was no DNA being talked about, because if you hit somebody with your car, you would think that there would be DNA on the car. And it is brought up during pretrial hearings that the prosecution says we do have DNA from the car and it does match John O'Keefe, but then the defense says that that's not true and they don't have that. So I'm still not sure about the DNA that's on the car. So
I'm sorry, go ahead. Tell me when you can take some questions that have kind of filtered in. One of the questions is about, well, one of the notes on it is, 25 miles an hour is a pretty good clip to be backing up. This is Underdog says that. Isn't 25 miles an hour a little fast for backing up?
Yeah. I mean, if you go down, I'll show you a visual. So part of the prosecution's pretrial hearing allegations, that's a really long descriptor, is that she backed up, if you continue going down, she backed up at, she backed up at, what is that? It's 24 miles per hour. So all of this alleged backing up and hitting him happened at a total of 56 seconds. So I don't know.
I got to tell, I mean, and we know that she drove the car, right?
We know that she drove the car. She admits to driving the car. So we know she was behind the wheel. And this was not included in any legal documents after the first presentation in the pretrial hearings because it was debunked. But I'm bringing it up because it is either that she backed over him and killed him or hit him with her car, or he was beat up at the house and attacked by the dog. Those are the only two possibilities of how this man died.
Someone was asking here, Josh asked, how does the dog fit into all of this? And you just kind of referenced the dog. How does the dog fit in? I mean... the
dog is a security dog. If you go up, I think if you go up, or if you go down, sorry. If you go down in the visuals, I'll show you the arm. Okay, so this is the arm. This is John O'Keefe's arm. So anybody that's watching, there are a bunch of scratches and up and down the arm. And if you go to the next visual, it'll show you what happened with the dog. So the dog, Chloe, is there at the house. It's alleged that Brian Albert was pretty public about the dog attacking other people and other dogs. So this is, in fact, why they believe that the dog attacked him, was because of the nature of the injuries. The dog is rehomed fairly quickly after the incident, or after the murder, I should say.
So the dog's not talking, is what you're telling me?
Right. No, the dog is not talking.
All right.
So
I see it all lining up pretty damning against her, but she obviously, it would seem other people were aware of it.
Yeah, well, let me show you a video. If you go back up, Tony, to slide to visual 20, this is the visual of Karen backing up in her driveway where she lived with John. So she wakes up in the middle of the night. She sees that John's not there. She calls Jen McCabe, who Googled, how do you die in the cold? She calls another friend, and they go out looking for John. When she goes out and meets them, she backs up the car. So I don't know if you can play it, Tony, but I was just going to show, this is the camera footage.
Tony can do anything. Here it is.
So she's backing up. This is her driveway. Now, if you see,
she's about to clip
it's alleged that she clips it, and it goes forward a little bit. And
Right.
that's where she breaks her taillight.
I see.
So this is alleged. This is where she breaks the taillight and creates the damage on the car, which is scratches on the car, and then the taillight.
That does look right.
Yeah,
Now,
and this is the visual.
And there's no video from the night from the guy's house?
No, there's no visual. But here's the other thing that's really confusing. There are cameras at John O'Keefe's house, who died.
Right.
Okay? There were only 15 incidences between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m., January 28th to January 29th, and none of them show Karen Reed coming home. But it's very clear that she's backing up her car in his driveway. And that footage mysteriously is gone. There is CCTV footage from around the town of Karen driving. But again, some of that is mysteriously gone as well. Yeah.
Well, and she was mobbed up with the cops, it seems. So maybe the cops. I don't mean to cast him.
He was mobbed up with the cops.
He was mobbed up.
It's the cops sort of versus Karen Reed.
But I thought it was said that he didn't.
The cops are framing her. It's alleged.
Oh, the cops.
The cops are.
The cops did this to him and are framing her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're framing her for the murder, and they're all covering it.
And the reason they would murder him, what's the motive?
It was an accident. It was alleged that it was an accident. They were all drunk. He gets to the house. They have some sort of argument, and they beat him up. The dog attacks him, and he dies in the front lawn. And they all work together to cover it up. And that is the guy, Brian Albert, who owns the house, is part of the Boston Police Department. And the gentleman the man who's running the whole case, he's a state trooper. He, in his wedding, was Colin Albert, the nephew, in his sister's wedding. I mean, it's all very,
Yeah, this is she's not going 25 miles an hour. Let's talk about, that's in the video. That's not the video of him getting run over. Again, Dillette, that's the point. There was no video at the house where the murder took place.
Yeah, there was no video at the house.
So you're right. She's not going to try, but that explains the reason that video is important. Is it explains the damage to her car. So it wasn't associated with a murder. Is the point? Is what she's saying.
Yes.
It's Lori's right about this. How are people still so stupid about Googling? I guess if they're only concerned for the person, searching for how long someone could live in cold, not incriminating. Maybe a double fake search.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how you're concerned for a person and you're Googling that, but maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
The Googling thing is pretty damning, isn't it?
The Googling thing is really damning.
Again, if you're just joining us, she Googled, how long can a person survive in the cold, right?
Yeah, 3 times. Well, it's alleged. Once at 2:27 in the morning and then twice at 6:30. Because, again, she was with Karen when they were looking for John and when they found the body. Now, something also to know, they pulled up to 34 Fairview Road, and Karen jumped out of the car and saw John's body. It was pitch black. Jen and the woman they were searching with, Carrie, testified that they could not see anything there. I mean, this is a very rural, suburban road in
No
the middle of
lights.
nowhere, no
Yeah.
lights. And Karen knew that his body was in the front yard. Also, when Karen got to the body, and she was there with Jen and she was there with Carrie, she said, I think I hit him. I think I hit him. So at some point in the morning when they find the body, she is saying that she thinks she hit him. While they're searching too, she starts to put into question, did he get hit by a snowplow? And so Karen starts introducing these crazy ideas. And later, Jen and the woman they were searching with, Carrie, testify to the police and that is part of why she was indicted.
Testifies to the fact that she was hit by a snowplow, maybe, or something?
Testifies that she's already talking about his death and that he was hit by something. And that is in part why that becomes part of the grand jury indictment. Yeah.
It's an ongoing case right now.
It's an ongoing case. So
we got to wrap up. We're way late, please.
Okay.
So I'm sorry.
The trial started April 16th with jury selection. So.
You've done a great job. We do have some outstanding. Actually, Courtney goes into the comments and she responds to many of them. So if you're watching this after the fact, those of you who are true crime fans, you can jam with Courtney as she goes in and responds.
I want to thank Sheila, too, for the suggestion around this case.
There's some video of, I don't know, it seems to me pretty... The Google search is the thing for me, man. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm the court of Mark. I would say she's guilty, but what do I know? I'm an amateur. You're the professional.
The Google search would say that he was killed by the party. He was killed at the house. So
killed at the house, right?
Huge cover up by the Boston PD.
Oh,
yeah, massive.
Well, then why would she have Googled it? How long can you survive in the cold?
Well, that's what's alleged is that Jen McCabe Googled it while she was at the party. Like she was still involved. She was still there. They were Googling it because he died at 2:30 in the morning and they were wondering how long it would take him to die outside. It's very complicated.
Thoroughly confused. Thank you very much. That is Courtney, everybody.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.